position. De Jong played that role for Ajax. He was most impressive last season in that Dutch side that got to the semi-finals of the Champions League. But Valverde continues to play in that more advanced role. That's a talking point for me. We'll see how Rakitic does. He has added something extra to that Barcelona team since coming back into the 11 over the last month or so. He should be comfortable there, if truth be told. And then you have the Sergio Roberto question. Roberto, normally the right back, of course, tends to be a big game player. His versatility is absolutely key for Valverde. I mean, the assists, if we look at the stats, 6 assists he's got in 8 Clásicos against Real Madrid. That tells you all about Sergio Roberto. Who can forget that late goal against PSG in the Champions League a few seasons back? So he's got that big game mentality in him. Valverde trusts him, and he goes into the midfield. Huge talking point, I'm sure. We'll see how they do as the night pans out.
Well, as for Zinedine Zidane, it's 3 changes to the 11 that began at Mestalla. Moving to the bench, Nacho, Modric and young Rodrigo. So there are starts for Mendy, Casemiro as expected, and Gareth Bale. Well, kickoff is now just 10 minutes away. This is one of the biggest matches in world football, and the anticipation is palpable. Images here of the Barcelona players arriving earlier tonight, an unusual format for them, travelling from the Hotel Sofia in the team coach. And there they are, all smiles among Messi and Suarez, together as they so frequently are. And here the visiting 11, Zidane, who has never lost here as a manager in 4 matches, brings his players full of confidence. That late goal securing the point at Mestalla, meaning these teams remain neck and neck. And Sergio Ramos, the Los Blancos captain, in for a historic evening tonight. He is set to play in his 43rd Clasico, which is a record. Well, as for the fans, a truly international mix tonight, and everybody excited about the quality on show, with so much at stake here in what is technically a Week 10 fixture in Laliga Santander. This game was supposed to take place back on October 26th, but now finally, 7 days before Christmas, we can enjoy the first Clasico of the season.
You said it, Tim. It's essentially an early Christmas present for all of us La Liga lovers, football lovers in general, around the world. And you said another word which was absolutely key tonight: talent. This is what this game brings to Planet Football. There's talent absolutely all over this pitch, and we can debate the 11s, the ins and outs, who's on the bench, but there's no doubt about it. Those 11 that are out there for both sides tonight are the most talented 22 group on the planet of football, and that's what brings us tonight, Tim.
Well, for many players, it is of course their first Clasico. For the likes of Frenkie de Jong and Antoine Griezmann in the starting 11 for Barcelona, and for Ferland Mendy playing at left back for Real Madrid. Well, Griezmann, of course, played against Real many times, 20 times in fact, for Atleti. So 20 Madrid derbies under his belt, including one in a Champions League final. But tonight, his first Clasico. And the same applies for Frenkie de Jong, who of course faced Real Madrid last season on that historic run to the Champions League semi-finals with Ajax.
Yeah, he's talked about it this week, hasn't he? The surprise win, and it was for all of us, at the Bernabeu last year in that Ajax lineup, that dynamic young team, and that's what Barcelona bought him for. Also, they bought him to, well, it's an age thing. Rejuvenate that midfield. That's why he's in there tonight. He's full of running, he's box to box, and that's what Valverde are looking for him tonight. They won't be overawed. Griezmann has seen it all. He's a World Cup winner, Tim. This player has seen it all, but there's no game quite like El Clasico. And as Ernesto was talking about in his press conference yesterday, talking about what this game means, all these players making their debut tonight in El Clasico, the minute they step out of that changing room into the tunnel, they won't have felt any anticipation like this in football.
Well, for the visitors, Ferland Mendy makes his Clasico debut. He did play here at Camp Nou, this resplendent stadium, in March with Olympique Lyonnais, suffering a 5-1 defeat. And in terms of the Real Madrid substitutes, there are plenty of Clasico debutants among them. There are 4, in fact: Areola, Militao, Jovic and young Rodrigo. Well, look at that. A beautiful sight. This famous old stadium preparing now to host what is always such a special occasion. And this entire city, as well as the entire watching world, awaits with bated breath as the minutes tick by and the fans filter in. The final preparations being made now by both managers, and the